Now joined by Leonidas Oikonomakis from the European University in Florence. Thanks very much for being with us here in the program, sir. First off, the Greek government keeps cutting spending despite fierce opposition on the streets, as we can see. So, do the MPs themselves believe that the measures are actually helping the country's economy?
Well, I don't think they do. And even if they did, they should stop doing so, because let me remind you that Greece entered this Troika and austerity measures adventures because it had a huge public debt at 120% of GDP at the time. And the public debt was there for three reasons, according to the hegemonic discourse. Because Greece had a huge public sector, which apparently was at EU average, because it had a very costly welfare state, which actually made me think that maybe I was living in Denmark and Sweden and I had not realized, because the welfare state of Greece was one of the weakest in the EU, and also because the Greeks were lazy. Apparently, they have been working longer hours than any other in the EU. And the public debt that was supposed to be decreased with the austerity measures has actually increased 3 years later, and is expected to reach 160% of GDP by 2016. And at the same time, the salaries and pensions have been decreased by 30 to 40%. Unemployment has reached 25%, youth unemployment 55%, suicide rates 40%. So it's clear that this road leads to nowhere. And I don't think they should believe that they are helping the country's economy. And they don't, judging from how many people voted for the new memorandum.
The figures that you just named there are quite actually dramatic, and the state of economy seems to be extremely dire there. But the question here is, when are we going to see the light at the end of the tunnel? I mean, as we know, the Greek Prime Minister promised that the last two rounds of belt tightening will be the last ones for the country.
Yeah. Actually, the Greek Prime Minister and every Greek Prime Minister within these 3 years has been promising the same thing. And but I don't think it leads anywhere, because we always get new loans in order to service older loans. And let me remind you that this Prime Minister, Antonis Samaras, is the same Prime Minister who raised deputies from the party parliamentary group for voting for the first memorandum. Then he raised other deputies for voting against the second and against the third. So I don't think they have any political credibility left either. And let me also remind you that 153 deputies only voted for this memorandum. So with the current policies, I don't think there is any light at the end of the tunnel.
All right. Well, as we also know, the German Chancellor Angela Merkel is to visit Portugal, another struggling country there, later in the day, where thousands of people have signed an open letter against her. So we saw similar sentiment when she came to Greece last month. In your opinion, why are people so angry about her personally?
Well, there is a growing distrust to the EU in general, and Angela Merkel is considered the leader that is taking these austerity measures and this following and dictating these policies for the people of the south, mainly for Portugal, Spain, Greece, Italy as well. And also there is a general strike on the 14th of November in these countries that I mentioned earlier. And that's the sentiment that the people have, and that's the idea they have about Angela Merkel, that she is dictating these austerity measures that they have to suffer.
All right, Leonidas Oikonomakis from the European University in Florence, thanks for your views here on RT.
Thank you.